Welcome back to my educational channel on biology. I'm Teacher Janet, and in this video we're going to discuss subtopic 2.1, the structure of a leaf from the Form 5 KSSM biology syllabus. So leaves are very marvelous specialized organs that function as the food factories of our earth. And they are so important in the ecosystems because plants that possess leaves are the producers in the ecosystems, and organisms depend on the plants for food source. So let's find out how the cells in the leaf are specialized to carry out photosynthesis so efficiently to produce organic food substances like glucose, and from glucose other compounds like amino acids, starch, and so forth are produced. The learning outcomes for this lesson are as follows. Firstly, we should be able to describe the external structures of a leaf, and these are the lamina and the petiole. Secondly, we should be able to identify internal structures of a leaf lamina, namely the upper epidermis, palisade mesophyll layer, spongy mesophyll layer or tissues, lower epidermis, and vascular bundle. We should also know the adaptations of each of these parts for the process of photosynthesis. So the leaf is the main organ of a plant which is well adapted to carry out photosynthesis. Now the structure of a leaf is divided into two parts, the external structure and the internal structure. Let's discuss the external structure of a leaf. So in the external structure of a leaf, we can see a petiole or leaf stalk that is attached to a lamina, which is the leaf blade that is flat and thin. All right, so let's find out the functions and adaptations of the petiole and the lamina. Now the petiole or leaf stalk that connects the lamina to the stem of the plant here, right? So it stretches out or branches out into the lamina to produce a network of veins like what we can see here, like a fisherman's net. All right, so there are many veins inside the lamina which contain the xylem and phloem tissues to transport substances. All right, xylem to transport water and mineral salts to the leaf, and phloem to carry away or transport away the sugars produced during photosynthesis to other plant parts. So the petiole also has another function to support the lamina so that it can be held in a horizontal position, so the leaf will absorb more light coming from the top. Okay, in a horizontal position, the surface area is bigger. All right, the surface area here is bigger, that is exposed to the sunlight, so more light is absorbed by the cells that have chlorophyll here for photosynthesis. Now let's look at the lamina. What are the adaptations of the lamina? Lamina is called the leaf blade. It is the flat, thin, smooth green part of the leaf. Now what are the adaptations? So if you look at the shape, it looks like a piece of paper, right? A piece of paper. It is flat in shape to provide a large surface area to expose the cells inside the leaf, and these cells contain chloroplasts, to the maximum amount of sunlight that comes from the top. Right? So the bigger the surface area, the more sunlight is absorbed, the more the sunlight is absorbed by the leaf, right? For faster photosynthesis. All right, and if you look at the equation for photosynthesis, WECO, water plus energy, this is light energy plus carbon dioxide produces glucose and oxygen. We see that the requirements or the substrate or reactants for photosynthesis are W for water, which is transported by the veins to the leaves, and then E, energy, is sunlight, okay, coming in from the top and absorbed by the chloroplasts, the organelle called the chloroplasts inside the cells that contain the chlorophyll, and then C is for carbon dioxide, so carbon dioxide is also needed. So the leaf blade or lamina is thin, it's very thin, right? Maybe it's about roughly about 7 layers of cells, thick like that. So it's very thin only, just like a piece of paper, to allow carbon dioxide gas needed for photosynthesis to diffuse efficiently into the leaf through the stoma, which are the pores in the leaf. Let's now discuss the internal structure of the leaf and investigate how the various tissues in the leaf are well adapted so that the leaf can carry out photosynthesis. Let's start with the uppermost layer, which is the waxy cuticle. It is waxy, waterproof, and transparent, and it covers the upper and lower parts of the leaf epidermis. So you can compare it to a piece of plastic, all right? And if you look at it, it looks very shiny. It gives the leaf the shiny appearance at the top of the leaf, right? So what is the function of the cuticle? The cuticle is waxy and waterproof to reduce excessive water loss through evaporation or transpiration. So when the sunlight shines on the upper surface of the leaf, it tends to heat up the leaf cells, so water from the leaves may diffuse out and may try to evaporate through this upper layer. But because of the cuticle, the waxy cuticle that's waterproof, this water, not so much water, can evaporate through the cuticle into the atmosphere. So in that way, the cuticle is adapted to reduce excessive water loss through evaporation because it's waterproof and waxy. Now, second adaptation. The A here stands for adaptation. The cuticle is transparent to allow sunlight to pass through it to the palisade mesophyll cells for photosynthesis. Now, secondly, let's go on to the upper epidermis. So the upper epidermis is the first layer of cells in the leaf. It's located on the upper surface of the leaf just under the cuticle. It does not contain any chloroplast and is transparent, so that light can pass through it also to the palisade mesophyll cells that carry out photosynthesis. So the function of the epidermis, upper epidermis, is to protect the other cells from injury and also from infections by disease-causing microorganisms or pathogens. Let's go on to the palisade mesophyll cells. Okay, before that, we have to talk about the lower epidermis. It is located at the lower surface of the leaf, and this lower epidermis contains a lot of stomata, which are openings to allow carbon dioxide to diffuse into the leaf from the environment for photosynthesis. Okay, so does the upper epidermis contain stomata, openings? It does, but it may be, is much fewer or less, is much less than the number of stomata in the lower epidermis. Why is that so? To prevent excessive water loss through transpiration. Okay, so the upper surface of the leaf is more exposed to the sunlight compared to the lower surface, right? So to prevent excessive transpiration and water loss, there are less stomata on the upper epidermis compared to the lower epidermis. Now, so the size of the stomata is controlled by a pair of guard cells. Now, all this will be explained later on also in subtopic 2.2. Okay, so remember, the stomata is to allow carbon dioxide to diffuse into the leaf when it's open for photosynthesis. Now, next we go on to the most important cell, which is the palisade mesophyll cell. Okay, so there are many palisade mesophyll cells in this layer of the leaf, and they are vertically arranged and are closely packed. So this arrangement is an adaptation, A for adaptation, so that there are more cells packed into this surface to receive maximum amount of light exposure from the top for higher rate of photosynthesis to produce more organic food substances. So the arrangement of these palisade mesophyll cells is something like a match, the match boxes that are placed together, all right, packed together closely. Now, these cells also contain a lot of chloroplasts, which are the organelles that contain chlorophyll to absorb sunlight for the process of photosynthesis. So you can see a lot of dots inside. Sometimes they are green color. These are the chloroplasts. So palisade mesophyll cells have a high density of chloroplasts so that they can carry out photosynthesis at a high rate. Now next we come to another cell called the spongy mesophyll cells. These cells are irregular in shape to increase the internal surface area of the leaf, okay, that is based on their surface area here for gaseous exchange. So their shape is not like a cuboid like the palisade mesophyll cells. Okay, they have irregular shapes to increase the internal surface area. And the arrangement of the spongy mesophyll cells are also different from that of the palisade mesophyll cells. Spongy mesophyll cells are loosely arranged compared with palisade mesophyll cells that are tightly packed. So why is it that there are so many? Why is it that the spongy mesophyll cells are arranged loosely arranged? It is to form many intercellular air spaces, as you can see here, to allow carbon dioxide to diffuse easily and quickly through these air spaces to the palisade mesophyll cells for photosynthesis. Okay, so if the spongy mesophyll cells are all packed tightly here, then carbon dioxide will have difficulty diffusing through them to the palisade mesophyll cells for photosynthesis. So these air spaces are very important. All right, that's why the spongy mesophyll layer is called a spongy layer. Spongy because a sponge has a lot of pores and air spaces in between them. Okay. The second function of spongy mesophyll cells is that they also can carry out photosynthesis because they also have chloroplasts, but they have less chloroplasts than the palisade mesophyll cells, right? Now next we come to the xylem and the phloem. These are called the vascular tissues. Vascular tissues help to transport substances, okay, in the plant. Firstly, the xylem. The function of xylem is to transport water and mineral salts absorbed from the roots to the leaf, all right? So the walls of the xylem vessels are lignified. That means they are coated with lignin, a strong and hard substance, and they are thickened with lignin, okay, to provide mechanical support and strength to the plants. And secondly, the xylem vessels inside the xylem tissue are joined end to end. They are hollow and they are joined end to end to transport water and mineral salts continuously from the roots down there to the leaf, all right? So these are adaptations. Now, what about the phloem? Phloem helps to transport organic food substances produced during photosynthesis from the leaves to the other plant parts. Okay, so they contain sieve tubes that also join end to end to transport the organic food substances. We'll find out more about those later. Now here we have the cross-section of the leaf lamina, showing you the two-dimensional picture of the cross-section, and you can copy this into your notebook, all right? Showing you the waxy cuticle as at the top, followed by the upper epidermis, palisade mesophyll cells, spongy mesophyll cells, intercellular air spaces or just air spaces, the vascular bundle containing xylem and phloem, and then the lower epidermis with the guard cells and the stoma that allows gaseous exchange to occur, allow the carbon dioxide to diffuse into the leaf and up to the palisade mesophyll cells for photosynthesis. So this is a very good diagram that you can copy. Remember that the plant cells, you have to draw double layer for the wall here. One layer is a cell wall and the inner part here is the plasma membrane. Okay, so you must draw a double line for the outermost part of the cell. So here's a very beautiful picture or photo of the cross-section of a leaf as seen through a microscope. All right, so this is a real leaf. Now, let's try to identify structures A to I as we have discussed the structures just now in the diagram. All right, so you can pause the video for a while and try to identify these structures. And we will discuss in a short while. Right, so let's discuss the various structures found here. A is the cuticle, waxy cuticle, right? It's a thin layer that covers the epidermis. So B is the upper epidermis. It's just one layer of cells thick. And then we have C. C are the palisade mesophyll cells. So you can see a lot of dots in them. These are the chloroplasts, which contain chlorophyll. And there are about two layers of the palisade mesophyll cells here. D are the spongy mesophyll cells. They have irregular shapes to increase the surface area so that they can allow more sunlight, more light energy to go into the cell, okay, and also for faster diffusion of carbon dioxide to the cells. So you can see that they are loosely arranged compared to the palisade mesophyll cells that are tightly packed or closely packed, okay. So spongy mesophyll cells are loosely arranged to form many what? other air spaces, right? And then we come to F. Now you can see that F, for F, the cells have a thick dark wall surrounding them, and they're actually empty inside, right? So this is the xylem tissue, alright, with the xylem vessels seen here in cross section. And G is the phylum tissue. So the xylem is on top and the phylum is below, right here. Now what is H? H is quite special. It's actually a stoma with the gut cells surrounding it, and it is found a bit inside this depression here, hidden away from the wind and the atmosphere here. Okay, so these are called sunken stomata, to prevent excessive water loss, because they are not exposed directly to the wind, so the diffusion of water out through this part, through the stoma, will be reduced, right? So the sunken stoma or stomata reduce the rate of transpiration. Okay, so these are stoma surrounded by gut cells. Now I is the lower epidermis, alright? So here are the notes for the internal structure of the leaf lamina, and we have already discussed all these structures, so you can copy the notes if you want, okay? The characteristics and explanation about the cuticle, upper epidermis, right? Lower epidermis, palisade mesophyll layer or tissues, spongy mesophyll tissues, and vascular bundle, okay? So keywords are also highlighted for you. Some of the keywords are highlighted for you also. Alright, so it's up to you whether you want to copy these notes into your notebook, and take note that the equation for photosynthesis is WECGO, WECGO. Now going on to the formative exercise. Question 1, explain the importance of the lamina and petiole to a plant leaf. So highlight the keywords, right? Importance of lamina and petiole. So firstly, the lamina. It is the leaf blade that contains palisade mesophyll cells which carry out photosynthesis to produce organic food substances. So inside the lamina are the palisade mesophyll cells that carry out photosynthesis. And then the importance of the petiole. It is the leaf stalk that connects the lamina to the plant stem in order to receive water and also minerals through the xylem vessels, right, in the petiole. Now the petiole branches out into the lamina to produce a network of veins that help to support the lamina. So in the veins we have the xylem tissues with the lignified cell walls that are hard and strong, and this helps to support the lamina. Secondly, explain the adaptations of the cuticle in a leaf. So for adaptations, give the fact plus the explanation. First fact, cuticle is the waxy and waterproof layer. And what is the explanation or function of that? To prevent excessive water loss from plant cells by evaporation or transpiration. Now secondly, there's another function or adaptation. Cuticle is transparent to allow sunlight to pass through it to palisade mesophyll cells for photosynthesis. Alright, so sunlight passes through the cuticle and also through the transparent epidermis to the palisade mesophyll cells below, so that these palisade mesophyll cells can carry out photosynthesis. Third question, name 5 internal tissues found in a leaf. So they are the upper epidermis, palisade mesophyll layer, spongy mesophyll tissues, xylem tissues, phylum tissues, and the lower epidermis. Number 4, state the functions of xylem and phylum. 1 mark each. So xylem transports water and mineral salts absorbed from the roots to the leaves, whereas phloem transports organic substances produced during photosynthesis from the leaves out to other plant parts. Next question, number 5. The waxy cuticle and upper epidermis of a leaf are transparent. Justify. Now, when you see this word justify, it means explain why. Explain why, right? So why are the waxy cuticle and upper epidermis transparent? So the reason is to allow sunlight to pass through them to the palisade mesophyll cells below, so that the palisade mesophyll cells can carry out photosynthesis. Next, number 6. Right, so palisade mesophyll cells are the cells that contain the chloroplast, right? So that's why they need to receive the sunlight for photosynthesis. Number 6, state 2 differences between palisade mesophyll and spongy mesophyll tissues. Now, this is a past year SPM question, and also this fact was also tested in the recent SPM exam 21, okay, 2021. So palisade mesophyll cells contain many chloroplasts, but spongy mesophyll cells have less chloroplasts in them. Secondly, the palisade mesophyll cells are closely arranged, but spongy mesophyll cells are loosely arranged, so that the spongy mesophyll cells can form the air spaces for diffusion of carbon dioxide. So, okay, last slide here. Explain why spongy mesophyll cells are loosely arranged. So, spongy mesophyll cells are loosely arranged to form many intercellular air spaces, and this arrangement allows carbon dioxide to diffuse easily and quickly through the air spaces to the palisade mesophyll cells for photosynthesis. So in this way, the air spaces allow efficient gaseous exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen during photosynthesis, in which carbon dioxide will diffuse into the leaf for photosynthesis, and oxygen diffuses out of the leaf if it is in excess. All right, so oxygen diffuses out through the stomata. Next, the leaf of a plant is usually flat, thin, and green in color. Justify. So when we see this word justify, it means explain why, and we have to explain each of the characteristics of the leaf. So start with the flat structure. A leaf is flat and thin to increase the surface area and maximize exposure of the leaf cells to sunlight for photosynthesis, right? So the bigger the surface area, the more the leaf cells are exposed to sunlight, so that they can carry out photosynthesis at a faster rate. Now, the leaf is thin to allow carbon dioxide gas needed for photosynthesis to diffuse efficiently into the leaf, and the green color is caused by the pigment chlorophyll found in the chloroplast in the palisade mesophyll cells and spongy mesophyll cells. So this chlorophyll, that's green in color, actually absorbs red and blue light from the sunlight for photosynthesis. Right, so it has just started to rain outside, and thanks for viewing. Please do share, like, and subscribe to my channel. And till we meet again, goodbye and take care.